Well, welcome again, everyone, and today's sermon is entitled The Sacred Thread of Connection. So from birth to death, every milestone in our lives is marked by relationships. We are wired for connection to each other, to the earth, and to the sacred. Last month, I did a service called Love Actually. A lot of you, I'm sure, heard it. It explored the many facets of love, its joys, its challenges, and its transformative power. Can you all see me in the back? Because feel free to move over if you can't, because I feel like I'm doing this thing. We also talked about that love is not just a feeling, but it's an essential active force that shapes our lives and the world around us. So today's talk, in a sense, is a continuation of that service. So we're going to turn today to the human yearning for connection, which lies at the heart of our emotional and spiritual well-being. For many, the sacred is understood as the presence of God or the divine. But we, as Unitarian Universalists, in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning, have the freedom to explore what is sacred in ways that we relate to, that we looked at in our individual beliefs. So as I was thinking about this, I thought about how did I come to understand what is sacred to me? And I reflected back on a memorial I was asked to give several years ago. And this really awakened my lens to the sacred. I was asked to do a memorial for my friend's mother. I had grown up with her, and we lived in a walk-up building in Inwood in Manhattan. We were about 7 or 8 when we met. Her mother had grown up in this same building, and her mother, we're going to call her Joy, had passed away. It was, I think, 2016, 17, something like that. And my friend, I'm going to call her Clara, and her sister, Laura. Clara reached out to me and said, we'd like to all fly back to Inwood and do a memorial for our mom in Fort Tryon Park. You know where the cloisters are, everybody? Yeah. And I said, sure, of course. And I said, so I started asking them questions. Now, I knew my friend Clara was a staunch atheist. No belief in afterlife, no belief in, in spirituality per se. And as I started exploring it, her mother Joy was a Presbyterian who was spiritual, but not practicing anymore, but believed in God. And her older sister was a Wiccan, pagan, lesbian separatist. And I was given the daunting task of creating a sacred memorial ceremony that spoke to all their understandings of what is sacred, valuable, holy in their lives in a way that would give everybody that was attending comfort and recognize the belief system and values of their mom. I couldn't sleep. I had no idea what to do. And I pondered, and I was really lost, and somehow it awakened in me. I realized that we needed to focus on their commonality. I had to find out what was the common shared thing, what it was that they shared, and they shared their love for each other. That was their commonality. That's what was sacred to them. What was sacred was their family, was the grandchildren, was the relationships that they all had. And what also was sacred to them were those beautiful woods. Those beautiful woods of Fort Tryon Park. And to me, that's where my ashes are going one day. Yeah. So her mom grew up playing in those woods. We all did too. And those are the woods. That is the land of the Lenape people. That's where they exchanged that monetary agreement for Manhattan, right on the top of those woods by that flagpole, the highest point in Manhattan. So we came together that day, and we recognized the love that brought that family together, and the eternal connection they shared with their mother that did not end when their mother left this earth. That connection, it continues to be completely alive. Completely alive. And it was then it became clear to me that spirituality was expressed through connection. And so that's also my belief system. It's how we do it. So here at UUCP, we may consider the sacred to be found in what we love, or in our relationships, or in our communities, or our experiences, or in the interdependent web of all of existence. It's up to you. What is sacred to you? What is connection to you? It could be music, it could be art, it could be dance, it could be the woods, it could be Fort Tryon Park. Connection is not just a biological or emotional need, it is a spiritual one. It's behind everything that gives us value in our lives. It's the life-giving thread that gives us meaning. It's the threads that connect us to people, nature, or our passions. But these threads are not always visible, but they are deeply felt, forming the foundation of our identities and sometimes our purpose. Sacredness arises when we recognize the value of these connections, whether it's in moments of laughter with a friend, quiet companionship of a pet, or being in nature, sitting underneath a tree. And we all have that, not all of us, but many of us have a favorite place in nature, a place in their garden, or a place somewhere where there is a connection that's larger than us. They remind us of the intricate web of existence. The sacred is where love resides. It's found in the spaces where we feel seen, where we feel valued and understood. When we honor these connections, we touch the sacred. Mother Teresa shared the following. She said, "If there is no peace, it's because we have forgotten that we belong to each other." If there is no peace, she said, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. This world can be difficult, often leaving us feeling fragmented and isolated. Disconnection isn't just a passing discomfort, it is a form of spiritual suffering. Think about it. If we consider emotions like sadness, anger, fear, shame, guilt, loneliness, we find that each are born from an experience of disconnection, whether it's from others or from ourselves. At their core, these emotions reflect someplace where we are separate from what or who we care about or what we love. 5 years ago, this week was the week that COVID-19 hit. 5 years ago. We had no service this Sunday because we did not have Zoom yet. Our last service at Cecil was a week ago, 5 years ago. Our congregation was forever changed, as well as our lives. It was it was a collective experience of struggle. Our suffering at that time was not just about the fear of illness, but the suffering was about being disconnected from our loved ones and our families, and our communities and our congregation, and from each other. Fortunately, the experience of COVID-19 is not what it was 5 years ago, but life goes on, and experiences of disconnection always remain ebbing and flowing in our lives. And when we sense a disconnect, when we sense that discomfort inside us, those emotions I spoke about before, it's an opportunity to pause and take a look inside and see where there is an unmet longing for connection. So how do we heal disconnection? What do we do? Well, I think it begins with the intention and presence. We heal disconnection when we cultivate moments of genuine connection. When we cultivate moments of genuine connection with ourselves by honoring our emotions and inner truths, with others by reaching out with empathy and care, and activism, and stewardship, or kindness and curiosity. Those are all the outside ones. So that's with others and the world, right? That's how we create connection with the world, through our actions as Unitarian Universalists, as people that are stewards for humanity. And that's certainly the core values of a Unitarian Universalist congregation, surely this one. Healing requires deep listening and offering full attention, recognizing our shared humanity, giving attention to what we see as the sacred thread in the moment. Connection isn't something passive. It is something we create and nurture. You can't sit home, stare at the wall, and say, gee, I wish I feel connection right now. It's an active. Each time we choose compassion over judgment, openness over isolation, and courage over fear, we begin to mend. So here are some practices that might help cultivate a sacred connection. The first is the word I shared earlier, presence. Presence. I love the word presence. I think it's just such a wonderful balance of meaning. I think presence is the greatest present you could share with anyone. I know some of you have practiced deep listening skills, haven't you, in different practices with this congregation years ago? It's a wonderful thing to do. Just listening to someone without thinking about how you want to respond. Just being fully present. It just becomes such a gift to somebody to feel that they are completely hearing you, right? Completely being heard. Deep listening transforms relationships. Offering your entire presence to another human being says, you matter. And being around children, you all know that. You know, whether we're parents or aunts or uncles or friends, you know, we've all had those blessings. And what do kids want from us? All of our attention. Yeah. So another way to cultivate sacred connection, service. Participating in acts of kindness and service, whether by volunteering, offering a listening ear, performing random acts of compassion. Service is love in action. It strengthens the bonds of community. In these difficult times, taking action to impact or respond to what's going on in our government or in our society also makes us feel connected and makes us feel like we're doing something, that we're not powerless. And by the way, next month's service is called Do Something. And don't miss that one. Third way, gratitude. Gratitude to regularly express thanks for the connections in your life will change your life. To regularly, or even try it one day and see how your day unfolds. If you start by saying thank you and just taking a few moments to go through the possibilities of connection. Maybe even reach out to somebody and say, thank you, I'm connected to you. In your day will change your day. Gratitude nurtures appreciation, it deepens belonging, and it reminds us to cherish the people, places, and moments that matter. A simple thank you can become a sacred acknowledgement of connection. And finally, ritual. Ritual helps make things intentional, sometimes lighting a candle, having our cup of coffee and exhaling and just glancing out the window could be a ritual of connecting to our body, connecting to a new day. Rituals of connections are birthday cakes. Those are rituals. Somebody came from outer space and they would not understand why we bake things and put some fire on it, on this yearly event. It just, rituals are such a wonderful human experience, but they ground us. They make the ordinary moments sacred, right? And, whether it's ringing the bell to start our service or begin or end a meditation, it just changes our space for a bit. So the following is a quote from Albert Einstein. He shared, "A human being is part of the whole created by us." The whole created by us. A part limited in time and space. He experiences his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and the affection for a few persons nearest to us. And Albert Einstein goes on to say, our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. There's such amazing statements by Albert Einstein. We often look at him, think of him as a person that is not that spiritual, but he was incredibly spiritual. So this brings me to, before I go into closing, I wanted to share a thought. It brings in mind to a story of two unlikely friends. And these friends' names are Bone Digger and Milo. Has anybody ever heard of Bone Digger and Milo? Bone Digger was a disabled lion. This lion was born as a cub. There was something wrong with this lion's paws. He would never be able to run and survive in the wild. So they raised him in captivity. And right around the time that Bone Digger was born, also Milo was born. And Milo was a dachshund. And somehow Milo ended up in the enclosure with Bone Digger. And they grew up together. It was in a wildlife park in Oklahoma. And they became playmates. And they were inseparable. They just loved each other. They would eat the raw meat together. The dachshund would clean the teeth of the lion. And if you go online, you could see Bone Digger and Milo. And Milo grew up to be about 10 pounds, and Bone Digger grew to be 500-pound male, full-grown lion. And so eventually, the keepers of this nature sanctuary became concerned for Milo's well-being, and they removed Milo from the enclosure. And Bone Digger quickly became depressed. He ceased his activities, and he barely ate anymore. He was not thriving. He was not going on. And they eventually said they just can't do it. And they brought Milo back, and Bone Digger and Milo are back together, happily eating, playing, cleaning his teeth, and they've lived happily ever after. So whether it's the animal kingdom or our world, there are unlikely situations of connection, but they are all opportunities that give our life meaning, whatever our lives are. It might not always be the way we expect it to be, these connections in our life. But whatever way they arrive, they are a gift. So in closing, in a fragmented world, choosing connection is an act of courage and hope. It is the sacred work that helps heal the divisions around us. Each small act, each connection, each shared smile, thoughtful word, helping hand, act of activism becomes a stitch in the greater fabric of community. As we weave these threads, we contribute to a more compassionate and interconnected world. May we continue to honor and nurture the sacred threads that bind us to one another and that give life its meaning. May we be so, and may it be so. Thank you. If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.